Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Model IC YouTube channel. In this video, we will examine the resolution and explain in detail how it is written at the summit. Resolutions are structurally composed of three parts. Let's begin with the heading. In this section, it is informed by which organ of the OIC, in which session, on which topic the resolution was written. I'll give you the examples from the 13th Islamic Summit. As you can see here, it says in the heading, Resolution on the cause of Palestine and Al-Quds al-Sharif submitted to the 13th Islamic Summit Conference, Istanbul, Republic of Turkey, 3-8 Rajab, 1437 Hijri, 10 to 15 April 2016. In a sentence used as an introduction in the title, which organ of the OIC held this meeting, on which dates, in which countries and cities is written both in Hijri and Gregorian terms. The 13th session of the Islamic Summit Conference, Session of Unity and Solidarity for Justice and Peace, held in Istanbul, Republic of Turkey, on 3-8 Rajab, 1437 Hijri, corresponding to 10 to 15 April 2016. The part that comes after this part are the preamble clauses. This section explains why the committee discussed the issue, describing the issue discussed and its effects. There are clauses in which there are previous agreements and steps taken on this issue and that expresses the purpose of the committee. These clauses must start with the phrases that have been shared with you before. These phrases should be underlined, italic, or bold. Phrases usually end with the suffix ing. This section also highlights the basic principles to which the committee adheres. A comma or semicolon is generally placed at the end of each preamble clause. Now, let's read a few clauses with you. Proceeding from the principles and objectives enshrined in the Charter of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Here, as you can see, our committee reiterated its commitment to the Charter of the OIC, which is the most important document to which the OIC is bound. Reaffirming also the resolutions adopted by ordinary and extraordinary sessions of the Islamic Summit and the OIC Council of Foreign Ministers, including those adopted by Al-Quds Committee in its last session on the cause of Palestine, including the cause of the city, Al-Quds al-Sharif, and the Arab-Israeli conflict. As you can see here, the OIC's commitment to previous decisions is reiterated. Recalling all relevant resolutions adopted by the United Nations General Assembly and the Security Council, particularly resolutions. As you can see, the OIC can refer to the resolutions and agreement of other international organizations, such as the UN. Now we move on to the third part, the operative clauses, that compose our decision text. Operative clauses, like preamble clauses, begin with a set of phrases. These phrases are written either underlined, in bold, or in italics. They have to be numbered. In these clauses, a semicolon is placed at the end of the sentence. Only at the end of the last clause is a dot put, which indicates the end of the resolution. Operative clauses mostly contain the steps the committee wants to take, the actions it wants to implement, its calls, and recommendations. Let's take a look at some clauses. For example, Clause 15 requests the OIC General Secretariat, affiliated, subsidiary, and specialized institutions, including the Islamic Development Bank, to adopt appropriate measures to ensure implementation of OIC resolutions on the cause of Palestine and Al-Quds al-Sharif, and take the necessary measures to support all the endeavors of the State of Palestine in international fora. As you can see in this clause, the OIC has envisaged to activate its relevant institutions. Invites member states to support and expand the program for the economic empowerment of the Palestinian people in the territory of the State of Palestine and the city of Al-Quds, which was launched by Al-Aqsa Fund and managed by the Islamic Development Bank, and which supported and promoted the steadfastness of the Palestinian people on their land. It also calls on member states to mobilize additional resources to the program through voluntary contributions by governments, the private sector, individuals, and institutions. As you can see here, the OIC is making a call to its members. Reaffirms in this regard that the Palestinian territory occupied since 1967, including East Jerusalem, constitutes one geopolitical unit, constituting the State of Palestine. Calls on member states to take steps that will prevent the products of settlements from entering their markets, as well as to take deterrent measures against all states, institutions, companies, and persons contributing to the continuation of the settlement system of the occupation authority on the territory of the State of Palestine, and calls on also for activating the boycott office and developing its work tools, including periodic briefing of member states on any violations in this regard. As it is seen, some solid actions are mentioned. Clause 27 strongly condemns the terror being perpetrated by Israeli settlers against Palestinian civilians and their properties, including Islamic and Christian places of worship and agricultural lands, with the support and protection of the Israeli occupying forces. Calls for punishing settlers for these crimes. Condemns strongly the criminal aggressions committed by flocks of settlers, including the burning and murder of the child Abu Khadir and the Wabshish family, and requests the United Nations, particularly the Security Council, to bear its responsibility in this regard by countering these measures and implementing its resolutions, and to put an end to these practices which would undermine international peace and security. The cruelty of Israel is strongly condemned. We have taken a look at the structure of resolution writing in its general terms. You can find other resolutions by browsing the OIC website. We recommend that you review the previous resolutions taken by your own community and the resolutions taken concerning our agenda item. Now, let's move on to the next part of our video. Assalamu alaikum once again. I want to explain to you how the 3rd Model OIC High School Islamic Summit will progress. But before we move on, I'll have to explain some of the important concepts related to the resolution writing process. First, we have a draft resolution. Draft resolutions are proposals submitted by 8 or more members of the committee called the sponsors, for consideration by the committee of the whole and adoption by the committee. Amendment. An amendment is a change in the text of a draft resolution designed to modify the content. Amendments can also be used as a tool to alter another draft resolution or your own at some point before the final vote. An amendment is when you add a new clause, remove a clause, or rearrange a clause. Reservation. A reservation is abstaining from a given clause or the resolution as a whole. It can be taken when a delegate believes that the clause or clauses does not fit with their country's policy. The discussions we had in the first 2 days were to reach a resolution text. As of the end of the 2nd day, a draft resolution prepared by the Secretariat will be delivered to you. The purpose of the draft resolution is to give you a better understanding of the structure of the resolution text and to provide you with a framework. On the morning of the 3rd day, our delegates representing the same countries in different committees will be put together in order to form a delegation. An unmoderated caucus will be given until noon after some short speeches about each committee is received at the start of this committee. In this process, the delegates are obliged to continue negotiating with each other and submit the draft resolutions to the Secretariat. Here are a few important points. The maximum number of resolution texts each committee can adopt is 1. A draft resolution submission must be signed by at least 8 countries. The Secretariat will review the structure and content of the decisions submitted to it and vote upon it in the afternoon sessions. Delegates should examine the resolution text submitted to them in the voting procedure and submit any amendments or reservations, if any, to the Bureau in written form. The Bureau shall open the amendments it deems appropriate for voting, and the reservations shall be processed. Now, I will give you an example of an amendment. Imagine, while some countries have determined the percentage of humanitarian aid to be 5%, some of the countries want to change it to 3% because they see it as too much. I would also like to briefly talk about the voting process. Voting at the Islamic Summit will be done by the silent consensus. It means that if there is no objection to the decision or amendment proposed by the Bureau, the decision or amendment is automatically accepted. If there is an objection to the amendment submitted to the vote, voting takes place. At the discretion of the Secretariat, the parties may deliver speeches in the committee or reconcile outside the committee under the guidance of our academic team regarding the amendments. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you at the summit.